Thank you for tuning into episode 251 of This Week in Real Estate, the tWiRE podcast, broadcast Wednesday, October 18th, 2023. Realtor commissions on trial, 0% is here. This episode was brought to you by viewers just like you. I don't have any sponsors or a way for you to give me money yet, so I'm not asking for it. All I'm asking is that you take just a second of your time and share the show. Send it to another real estate agent, someone else in the industry, anyone that you think might benefit by knowing what's going on in the real estate headlines. It could be an investor, lender, title companies, whoever. Send the show to them and let them know that they should listen. And be sure you're subscribed, doing all the YouTube-y things, subscribe, hit the bell so that you can be notified of when we go live, so that you can join the conversation. If you are watching live, you can comment and then we can display your comment. Dusty Martin with a little inside joke here. She says, I'm here for the not fake Arkansas influencer. So we do have a fake Arkansas influencer. Maybe we'll talk about that one day, but right now I'm just enjoying it. So I don't want to spoil it. If you're joining us on Facebook, you can also comment. We can display that comment on Facebook or LinkedIn. But if you're joining us on Clubhouse, you can raise your hand and come on up and join the conversation. So you can actually add your voice to the podcast. It will be recorded and distributed everywhere. And today is an interesting day because I had to do this last week too. I just felt like there was so much news and so much stuff going on in the industry that normally what we call industry tea is kind of at the end of the show. And that's where we talk about, what brokerages changed hands or what's happening in our industry as real estate agents or, lenders or title companies, the things that we're really looking at that, are kind of big deals to us, but maybe not necessarily a consumer. And we normally will cover all the news and headlines that's mainly for consumers at the front of the show. But for the last 2 weeks, this week included, we are flipping the scripts. So we have our industry tea first off. And without further ado, let's just get right into it. I should have added a court sounder. I didn't add that. But like a Law and Order, do. Bow, 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 bow. That was actually pretty good. We'll just use that one. Okay, so Bushy Top 08 said, lock up NAR. Okay, so that's an opinion. Let's dive into it. The court case happened yesterday. This article is from Inman, but there's several news stories, and this is really the only industry tea that's out there. I looked for a lot of industry news and information, but the biggest thing that everyone was talking about was this court case in which you had Gary Keller, Bob Goldberg, testifying in the Sitzer Burnett, Missouri case. And so they give you kind of a play-by-play of what happened. And yesterday I saw all kinds of claims. There was someone saying, 1 million real estate agents are going to drop out of the industry and 30% will quit and all this other stuff. And I really think it was a lot of hyperbole. And when you look at where they got some of this information, they're basically using court arguments as fact. And let's not do that, because one of the things that we do know is that whatever is said in court may or may not be true, right? You remember Johnny Depp, Amber Heard? O.J. Simpson. So there's certain things that are said in court to either defend or prosecute that may or may not be a hardcore fact as an economist looks at it, or as someone that's an expert in the industry might look at it with additional information. They will also have expert testimony coming up there with people besides Gary Keller and Bob Goldberg. They'll have expert testimony. I'm sure this in the coming weeks, from people that are self-proclaimed or maybe proclaimed by the industry, quote unquote, as experts on a certain avenue or a certain path in real estate. And they're going to say some things that we as realtors know, we as realtors know is absolutely false. And so it's going to be really interesting to hear what they say and how they kind of bend it their way or the other side. Those experts are supposed to be non-biased, but they are paid for by one side or the other. Okay, so let's dive into the what happened yesterday. There was an opening statement. Each side would educate the 9-person jury. I don't think there are any realtors on the jury. They're just consumers, some homeowners, some not, in the ins and outs of real estate industry. At the same time, they had to try to convince them of the merits and evils of NAR policy, known as the participation rule, which requires listing brokers to make an offer of compensation to buyer brokers in order to submit a listing to a realtor affiliated to a listing service. So that's the crux of the whole lawsuit. It is that the National Association of Realtors required a participating broker in an MLS to offer compensation to a buyer broker. Michael Ketchmark of Ketchmark and McCrate kicked off the opening statements. He said, this is a refund case. And that's kind of exactly what it is. I'm kind of surprised that he started that way because, if you got a good or service that was performed for you, asking for a refund, and that kind of put a bad taste in my mouth when I heard that. I'm like, that's not how I would have couched this if I was him. I would have couched it as almost like a fraud and collusion case, but he said, this is a refund case. The plaintiffs were the defendants. They wanted to return the money they believe was unlawfully taken as a result of alleged conspiracy between the defendants. Conspiracy case would have been maybe a different word. That would have been a better word to use. The number of homes sold during the relevant time period was 265,297. Home sellers paid on average $6,700 to a buyer agent. That adds up to $1.78 billion in damages. They said it's about letting the free market decide. Why is there a mandatory rule? If it's so good, make it voluntary. Don't put it in the MLS where everyone can see it if it's being followed. So if you remember, the participation rule was something that happened like 25 years ago and has been public. Like, it's not a hidden rule. Everyone knows it's there. It's been on the National Association's website. Ketchmark came up with this phrase. He said, it's not competition and it's not cool. It's evolved into a system of cooperative competition or co-opetition. He said, that's not competition. Co-opetition is what. Oh, man. Later, the plaintiffs got to start presenting their case. First person that Ketchmark, that's the guy suing. The first person that he called was Gary Keller, who appeared via video deposition. So this was interesting. He said Keller confirmed that Keller Williams requires its affiliated agents to join NAR to have access to local MLS. That is a huge part of what this is about. Requiring agents join so that they have access to the MLS. Keller's exchange with Ketchmark at the deposition got testy, which if you've ever heard Gary Keller talk, you knew that was coming. He's not a guy that's just going to sit back and listen to a bunch of stuff and respond real calm, cool, and collective. He's a guy that's going to kind of like, he's going to get about it. That's my impression of it. So Ketchmark showed Keller a video from the KW family reunion, which Keller showed a slide showing the average commissions of KW agents had earned between 2002 and 2019. Despite the slide, Keller said, we didn't talk about commissions. I reported the numbers and walked off the stage. Which that sounds a little bit disingenuous. I would have phrased it differently. I would have phrased it as a profit report. And you talked about the numbers that y'all earned as a company because everyone in there is in profit share. So you could essentially say they have ownership of that profit. And so it's important to report the profit to the people that get the profit share. But he reported the numbers and walked off stage. That's not exactly, anyone that was at a family reunion knows that's not what happened. He's like, oh, here's the numbers, and walks off stage. He talks about it, and he talks about why they're significant. Why not just be honest about that? That's weird. And he added that the presentation was, quote, not a conversation about what you charge, but a model to describe the flow of money. So he repeats this phrase a couple of times. And I think that's true, but it's probably not true on that specific report. It's probably true in other parts of it, which Ketchmark gets into. Similarly, when Ketchmark pointed out the page in Keller's book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, where he mentions that each side in a real estate transaction gets an average of 3% commission, Keller said, it's only an example so I can show how money goes. It's simply a model to show the flow of money. So he's talking about the Red Book that a lot of us have read. That's an interesting in that context, he does own a real estate brokerage, but he's an author and he's got to use some number. Could he have used 20%? Yeah, but that's kind of a weird, unrealistic number. So he said he uses an average of 3%. Can you talk about averages? Can real estate agents talk about an average commission? It's not a standard, it's an average. Is that okay? Then he says, nowhere in the book do I talk about commissions except to explain the flow of money. And I say average. So I think the term average may be a key term, a key differentiator in standard and average. But then can you run averages in your MLS and say the average commission in our MLS is this? That's just data. Would that be wrong? Catchmark asks if Keller believed that his agents were steering buyers away from listings that offer lower broker commissions. Catchmark asked if Keller believed that agents steering buyers away from listings that offered lower buyer broker commissions was wrong. So he asked if Keller believed that agents steering buyers away from listings that offer lower commissions was wrong. Oh, okay. Sorry. I don't know why I couldn't read that today. And then he said, I believe it's wrong. I've never seen any evidence of it, he added. Then Catchmark uses a training script similar to the antitrust case in Mueller, and he called it out as evidence. And this training script discourages sellers from offering a lower buyer broker commission because of steering, thereby keeping buyer broker commissions at a standard level around 3%. So I thought this was interesting. He's basically saying, I'm trying to share this script. Let me share this. Oh, okay, there it is. Oops. Hang on. I hit the wrong button. There it is. All right, here's what the script looks like. I've actually seen this script because I was a KW agent. There it is. So this is explaining how commission is used. Script number 4. Seller, can you reduce your commissions? Agent, of course. As you know, commissions are negotiable. But let me ask you, what are you trying to accomplish by getting me to reduce my commission? Seller, I'm trying to save money. I understand. Do you know how commission structure works? Not really. Agent, let me explain what happens. When you reduce the commission, you reduce the incentive for an agent to bring a buyer to your house. If an agent has 10 different houses, of which some are 3%, some are 2.5%, which houses do you think they were going to show? Seller said, the ones with larger commission. Absolutely. You're putting yourself at a disadvantage when you reduce your commission. When you agree. Seller said, I guess that's true. So that training script is now appearing in court, and Keller's response to it was, I've never seen this document. What? Interesting response. He added that he didn't see anything wrong with telling the seller there might be a singular agent, quote unquote, who could steer. And that's fair to say that an agent should explain all contingencies to help the sellers make the best decision for themselves. And then he said, I'm pretty offended with your characterization that a real estate agent would ever try to scare a seller. So I'm going to object to that. I thought that was an interesting phrase too, because what does he mean he's going to object to that? He said the training script was one of probably dozens that he wasn't telling agents how to do something, but rather an example of how, of someone has done something. So he's basically saying this is not what you have to do, but this is an example of what you could do. All right. So this part I didn't quite understand. Catchmark asked Keller about an Inman article with data about commission rates from Keller Williams Research Department. He pointed to an email in which Keller told his staff, nice job, after the article was published, noting that the data came from that department. Why did you want Inman to publish this? Catchmark asked. Did you want your competitors to know you were keeping your part of the bargain? And Keller replied, no, which I could totally see him saying. Catchmark noted that Keller previously said that he and the others in the industry weren't supposed to talk about commissions. Then why publicly release this information, said Ketchmark. Keller responded that he didn't know where Inman had gotten the information despite his own email. That's the part like, how do you not know where Inman got their information if your team supplied the information? That's the part I don't get. Ketchmark also played a deposition testimony from Blafari, and then a training video where he tells agents that he pre-writes listing agreements with 6% commission. If the seller inquires asking if commissions are negotiable, he says, but I can only go up. And then he said, basically, I was showing them what they could do so they could learn from it. I certainly don't believe in fixing commissions as appropriate. So that's kind of the end of Keller's testimony, though he will probably appear again because this was just the plaintiff's side. So the defense has not gone yet. Dusty Martin says, I object. Yes, that's what Gary Keller said. I object to you saying that a realtor would scare someone. Bushy Top says, the rest of the world, for the most part, decouples the commissions. Why should we keep the status quo? Why are we different? By the way, excellent show. Oh, thank you, Bushy Top. Yeah, I mean, so part of that is so that people that are kind of in the lower 1/3 of the market can get representation of some sort. That's been a long-standing belief that representation is a good thing, and having an expert to be able to negotiate on your behalf is good. And home ownership is good. And so getting people to own a home as early as possible is generally a good thing. So if you could take some of the financial burden off of that, then more people can own a home. Instead, if you put their agent's commission upon them and closing cost and, then it makes it more difficult for people to purchase a home in the bottom 1/3 of the market. So if they found a way in which a listing broker can acquire the commission and then split it with a buyer broker, then it's the best of both worlds. Shouldn't they have full representation as opposed to a la carte options? Well, yes, but they currently have both. You have a la carte options now where you could pay a small fee to someone that just locates a property for you and doesn't walk you through the rest of the transaction. You could pay somebody the entirety of the fee. So that is possible now. It's possible in my state too. I mean, you can not have an agent and then go try to buy a home, but generally that doesn't change how much the listing broker makes. Okay. So, Blafari was, let's see, Ketchmark says, isn't it quintessential price fixing? And Ketchmark says, no, it's just negotiating. Ketchmark says, we'll prove to you that it's not. That's what he said to the jury. Felt like that was maybe a big moment for him. By the way, did you notice the thumbnail on today's show? I thought this was a really clever thumbnail, and I worked to get this. Here it is. It is a courtroom drawing of an attorney, a thick attorney, in a black suit with his finger pointed up and another finger pointed behind him, yelling at someone. And then it's me with like my hands going, what? And then I have a little Realtor 3D logo in the background as well, because you always need that. And I thought it was so clever to do the courtroom drawing thing, but I submitted it to a couple of friends. They were like, I don't know what that is. I'm like, oh crap. But I thought it was, I mean, I worked for hours with AI to get, to get that. I thought it was clever. Maybe not. Olivier's here. What's up, Olivier? Okay, so let's keep going on. This is still day one. We're still at the catch mark. Let's see. Blafari subsequently said that at the time he was working for a broker who had a minimum commission requirement of 6%. Ketchmark pointed out that he did not explain that to the training video's audience. In the training video, Blafari also told agents that the only way you can eliminate competition is to include them, adding with a chuckle, or our legal team would want me to say eliminating from consumers' consideration rather than physically disposing of them. Ha ha ha. That's clever. And I think that was a mistake by the defense to include, or the plaintiff to include that, because that's kind of an endearing, like, you know, you're at a training. That's funny. Ha ha. And I think that probably makes people like Blafari more. In the deposition, Ketchmark asked if Blafari had agreed to the unilateral offer of compensation as the chief rationale for the MLS, and Blafari said yes. He asked if he believes if it's appropriate for home services to affiliate and only to charge 6% commissions and split them with the buyer agents, to which Blafari also said yes. So it's appropriate. In Goldberg's deposition testimony, so this is Bob, the guy we pay around $2.5 million for per year. So this was interesting, and I have mixed feelings about this part. Ketchmark zeroed in on NAR's Real Estate Services Group, RES Group, which Ketchmark said was listed as a committee on NAR's website, but Bob Goldberg says it was an advisory group. Now, this RES members include, where's the list? Keller Williams, Blafari, Sherry Chris of Better Homes and Gardens, the Realty Alliance CEO Craig Cheatham, and Mike Ryan of Remax. Ketchmark noted the former NAR CEO Dale Stinton had said the group should not keep meeting minutes in order to ensure that what happened in the meetings remained confidential, despite NAR itself saying that the minutes should be kept for all committees to ensure that that it could be proven that no illegal conduct occurred. That's interesting. Don't keep minutes of this meeting. And the reason was to ensure that it remains confidential. Goldberg denied the allegation, saying that the decision not to keep minutes was, quote, made to foster open conversation, and that there were, quote, no nefarious conversations that happened in this group. This is really bad optics. They should have kept minutes. If there's nothing nefarious that happens, then meet, talk about it, keep the minutes. I think this is, I don't know. What is your opinion on it? Does anyone have an opinion on that one? Pop it in the comments. When a group gets together and says, all right, guys, let's meet, but nobody keep minutes. That's really bad. If I'm a juror, I'm suddenly swayed. I'm saying like, well, that's shady. Goldberg, let's see. It's not the defendant's turn to defend themselves in trial yet, but opening statements, Ethan Glass, attorney of NAR, made the case that NAR is a voluntary association of 1.6 million. I love how they say voluntary association, but if I didn't volunteer to pay my dues to be in this association, I couldn't do my job as a real estate agent because I wouldn't have access to the MLS. Bushy. Sounds like FTX. Oh, yeah, the crypto. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be sus either. Olivier said minutes are a must, especially for large organizations. Yeah, if there's nothing nefarious going on, then keep the frickin' minutes, guys. It's a huge, huge mistake in retrospect. NAR made the argument, these are people who work in our communities. NAR doesn't set commissions of any type. Just so consumers know, they don't. There seems to be an average. There seems to be a number that locally a lot of people pay. There seems to be locally a number that a lot of agents offer, but there's not a set commission, and it is negotiated. Almost every single time we list a property, we have to negotiate it. But she said the FTX comment was about keeping the minutes. Yeah, for sure. The rule's been around for 20 years and it's been public, is what NAR said. It's talking about the participation rule. Everyone has a right to know how much they are going to get paid before they do work. That's a big contingent of NAR because without the participation, then, you start doing research on a property and you start looking it up for your client. And then you find out that that agent is offering $1. And now you have to go back to your client, talk to them about it. That gets really frustrating. So their goal was to remove that so that the agent could just focus on the client and say, well, here's the work and I'll just get paid whatever I get paid over there and know that it's a little better. But now NAR says that you could do $1. What kind of conspiracy is out in the public? There isn't one, says NAR. They're trying to twist something that's good, that benefits buyers and sellers by increasing the demand for their listing. Let's see. I'm going to go on down here. Robert McGill gave opening statements for home services. Let's see. Timothy Ray spoke on behalf of Keller Williams. I thought it was funny too that some of the statements by the attorneys sounded like, they're doing a good job representing, because the attorney for Keller Williams sounds a lot like Gary Keller. He just kind of, not audibly, but in what he says is like a similar rhythm. Keller Williams has always followed its own path in the industry. The claim Gary Keller is telling thousands of agents what they should charge. Let's see. They're asking you to believe that agents in Missouri blindly follow what Gary Keller says. Nothing could be further from the truth. That's pretty much it. There's one person, Linda O'Connor, who back in 2012, when she was a member of NAR's Professional Standards Committee, warned the trade group that its commission rule was the, quote, ultimate form of restraint of trade and should be eliminated. She will be testifying on behalf of the plaintiffs, I believe. Well, she will be coming out as a whistleblower, but she's going to be called by the plaintiffs. So that's going to be on Wednesday, which is today. I'm anxious to hear what she has to say. Bushy Top said, they said you could do $0 literally a week before trial. Yeah. They said, what's the difference in a penny and $0? Roughly negligible. But that's the first time I've ever heard him say that as well. And I asked my broker here locally, I was like, so I could put 0 in the buyer agency commission slot now? And she was like, nope, you got to put $1. So she was on top of it. There's another kind of recap or report from Broke Agent Media. Let me see if there's anything else new on that, but I think that was about it. They went from 80 jurors to 9, getting rid of a lot. Most juror candidates were homeowners. Many had sold homes of their own. Some came with fond memories of working with agents, while others had negative experiences. Some had previous training as real estate agents, and several had real estate professionals within their families. That's interesting. Let's see. Anyone got anything to add on that from Clubhouse? Jack, Jennifer, you want to pipe in at all? Michael Ketchwork says he's the attorney for the plaintiff. He said, I continue to have agents and brokers from all across the nation reach out to me directly and express their frustration with the mandatory nature of the buyer broker commission rule. We are happy to see that the Wall Street Journal today called for the dismantling of this real estate cartel, which is strangling our housing market. It's not the commission rule that's strangling the housing market. I can tell you that. And it's also not the mandatory nature of the buyer broker commission rule that I would be upset about. I mean, I'd want to still offer something to the buyer broker because there are agents that are going to sort by what they shouldn't do, but that's just going to happen. It's like if somebody offers a reward for me to return something, then I'm going to be more interested in going and finding that thing to return it. That's just normal. I'm frustrated with the mandatory nature of joining NAR. If I'm not aligned or joined with NAR here locally, I don't get access to the MLS. And if I don't have access to the MLS, then I can't really do my job as a real estate agent. So it's not voluntary. I don't think there's anything voluntary about it at all. If you don't pay it, then you can't do your job. You won't be successful. And if it's not really voluntary, then I think I said this last week on the show. If NAR doesn't have to work for my membership, then what makes me think that they're going to work for the members? I just don't see it. But this is the focus that NAR should have, is on this situation. They should focus on contracts that they can disseminate to states that have been approved by the DOJ and approved by, the legal entities and politicians that they need to. So we don't have to worry about this stuff. I mean, one group that's going to be hugely negatively impacted are veterans. They're not allowed to pay for buyer agents, and we can't roll them into loans right now. So they would be completely unrepresented, and they wouldn't have the benefit of my 17 years of negotiating experience and real estate experience on their side. They'd just be out on their own. Dusty said, I've put a minimum amount in my MLS before. We sold it only with one offer when we should have had 8, but we sold it, and that's what matters. How long ago was that though, Dusty? Was that like last year, 2 years? Oh, they're launching an app? I didn't hear about this. Is it consumer facing or is it agent facing, Dusty? That's I'm curious. Instead, they're launching an app. It was 2019, so it was before the hot market. No, it's agent facing. Bushy Top says, in your opinion, if each side had to pay their own agent, what value do you think to the market would ultimately be determined for buyer agents in a dollar amount? Would be nice to hear your thoughts. So we actually did it. Every week we have masterminds, and last week we did a mastermind just about that topic. What's the value a buyer agent can offer? What's the value a buyer agent can say, like, this is what I do for the commissions that you're going to pay me? And we actually came up with a pretty huge list. Let me find one of them. We came up with a very long list. And what we did is we broke it into core values, or core value propositions, actually, which are what just about every agent would do. Unlock the door, get access to properties, all that kind of stuff. And then we broke it down further and said, okay, if those are the core things that every agent could do, then what are the things that would be differentiated to me? Where is it? Buyer agency services. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of the core things that every single agent should do just for a base level of commission. An MLS drip, right? So they should be able to put people in an MLS drip so they can see what properties are coming. This is very basic. Arranging access to homes for showings, home previews, so going to see a home before on behalf of the client, negotiating, transaction coordinating, inspection scheduling, answering the phone. We wanted to make sure that the core service was to pick up your phone. Safety, providing a safe way to see a property and agent safety and safety for the client. Market knowledge, real estate knowledge, comparative market analysis, writing offers, communicating with vendors like title companies, lenders, etc., and providing them. And then maps, like giving some maps of the area and saying, hey, here it is. That's like the very base level core stuff. The differentiated services we thought would be, ease of showing. So making it more accessible to show, or making it easy for the buyer to see these properties by using apps and scheduling tools. Off-market properties, so whether it's door knocking, working with investors, past clients, Facebook groups, networking groups, agent-to-agent mailers, internet ads, buyer videos, short-form videos, buyer posts, expired listings, or builder list. That's just some of the off-market opportunities that a differentiated agent might have. They would have better contractor list, expert vetted vendor list, video tours and FaceTime showings of properties when necessary, expert communication, so you don't just hope they pick up the phone, but they're actually actively communicating with you. Support staff and team to help them. Buyer resource library. So if you have any questions, you can almost check like one of those Zen databases of support, but it's them telling you everything about the transaction, what you need to know. Customized maps, unique lending programs, unique title programs, enhanced comparative market analysis with a competitive listing analysis and an absorption rate analysis included. Past showings. They should be able to show you or tell you, like, hey, I've shown 100 properties in this neighborhood, and they have that market expertise. Continued property evaluations after close, future market transaction without the trouble of listing your home. Now that they've closed on your home and they know your property, then they can sell it to someone else in the future without you ever listing it. So I could save you a lot of money. Access to experts with the number one wealth building tool of real estate. So once you close, then they can help you find other properties. And then a community with their other clients that could be beneficial. And then we thought about like a buyer binder or something that includes everything that they do, and then a guarantee. That would be the differentiated list. So The core list, very basic. Differentiated list, what gets you is what would get you the access. That's what would make people feel like they're at a higher level of service, like a white glove level of service. And then of course you can create custom list for probate, military, investors, reload, luxury, etc. And then there's a whole bunch of convenience. Like you could turn on the utilities, provide moving boxes, moving trucks, storage unit, short-term rentals, TVs, TV installs. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff you could provide. So I think the good thing that's going to come out of this is that there's going to be more attention on the buyer agent services, and there's going to be more competition on the buyer agent services, which I love because I think we're going to win that competition. So I don't mind that at all. The bad thing to come out of this is that, if you have a client that wants to see 30 properties, then you're going to have to go negotiate your fee with 30 different agents or 30 different sellers if your client is one who can't pay their fee. If your client needs the seller to pay it, then they're going to be putting in offers with that as part of it. So they're going to be at a disadvantage with their offer. So I think that's what makes it difficult. And then keeping up with it all, saying, well, we showed 30 properties and what was I supposed to get on this one? It's just a lot. Olivier says it depends on what your USP is. Yeah, unique selling proposition. Did that list answer your question, Bushy Top? Hopefully it was helpful. Did I get a dollar value that the market would pay? Like how you differentiated the services, different packages. Completely agree. Someone needs to see 30 homes versus 2. Yeah. It should be different, you said. I don't know. There wasn't like a dollar value that we put on that. I know our costs to acquire buyers. I know what that is. And I know I know some of those costs that we work with, and we can look at those costs and say, well, based on those costs, this is how much money I would need to make from the buyer. So I think that's one way to look at it, is to see what the cost structure is and then what the profit is on top of that. But the other part is just, figuring out what the market's willing to pay, figuring out what sellers are willing to pay in this new environment and what buyers are willing to make up for on the other side. That's just going to be a big part of us moving forward, is figuring that number out. Olivier said, I don't agree with different. What do you pay? Wait, what? Say this again. What do you pay? What you pay? Oh, why do you pay? I'm sorry. I'm misreading it. I don't agree with different. Why do you pay what you pay for a Gucci bag versus something from TJ Maxx? Yes, quality. But at the same time, there's fewer Gucci bags that you can find, and there's a lot more TJ Maxx. Yeah. But she said, personally, I think the way business is done would have to change. A lot more digital access. Yeah. And Bushy loves TJ Maxx. Somebody raised their hand. I can't find them though. All right, we have time for just a couple of comments on this before we get into the actual news side of it. Let's see. What's up, Rue? Haven't seen you in a while. Rue, Liz, Kathy, Joe, and Courtney. Feel free to come up. ADU, did you have a comment you wanted to add to this real quick?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, you answered it, so I just wanted to kind of repeat what you just said. But I actually think that, and I'd love to chop it up with you one-on-one, about kind of like the ending thing that you said, and that was that what you talked about is a lot of work where the buyer's agent would negotiate with, say, in this example that you said, with 30 different people. So yes, it does sound like a lot of work, but at the same time, right now the buyer's agents have more value than the listing agents, which I know just sounds totally weird. It just sounds like backwards. It was always like, hey, whoever controls the inventory actually is the one. But the reality is that no, it's actually the buyer's agents right now. They have all the power. And so I would like to one day, Ray, seriously, because I consider you a hyper intelligent individual. I'd like to walk through one-on-one, a conversation of what that looks like. And the reason why is because I really believe in this real estate economy that we're going to be in for quite some time, at least in my local area. Just in my zip code alone, our inventory is literally at 0.005%.
Yeah.
We have like 108 or 180 listings out of almost 19,000 residential units. We have no inventory.
Wow.
That's not even 1%. So we have nothing. So meaning the people that have the buyers right now, holy Toledo, it's all about the buyer's agent right now. So what we've been taking advantage of, and I'll just say collectively, me included, taking advantage of as the buyer's agent, they have all the power. Remember, I'm going to land my plane right here. Who determines value is not the assessor. It is not the appraiser. It is not the listing agent, and it is not the seller. Who ultimately determines the value is the buyer.
Yeah.
And I just forgot that. So that's what I wanted to say, Ray. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for commenting. Yeah, the buyer definitely controls the value. What they're willing to pay is it. So, a lot of people are complaining about how high home prices are and how bad it is. And yet people are still buying. And if they're still buying, then you can't really complain about how high home prices are. You got to complain about people buying homes, which is exactly what the people who are complaining about high home prices want to do. So yeah, it's Bushy Top said, how often do you do these shows? Well, thanks for tuning in. It's every week, the same time every week, 12 o'clock on Eastern. We try to go about 12 to 1, but today I knew it was going to be a little long going through the whole lawsuit and what's happened. Next week, we'll have a brief recap. Actually, next week, we won't have a show. So I will probably do a special or have something special released because I will be in San Diego. If you're in San Diego or the California area, hit me up. Let me know. I'd love to meet you while I'm out there. So we'll probably have a little special that comes out next week that maybe summarizes some of what's going on in the lawsuits and such. Maybe a deeper, more in-depth conversation about it as more comes out. If I could get that out before I leave. I'm leaving on Saturday.
Wait, Ray, does that mean that you're with the 4-letter company?
Oh yeah. Not the 3-letter, the 4-letter.
Ray, what's up, Ray? I get to meet you in person.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be fun.
I'm literally going actually because is this a brand agnostic room?
Yeah, we're brand agnostic, but we still talk about them. It's fine.
Okay, all right. So I'm currently with Compass.
Oh, nice.
And I'm literally moving to Real. And so what you're talking about
here first, guys.
is the Real Rise event in San Diego, correct?
Yeah.
Hey, Ray, you just made my day.
That'll be fun to meet you in person. Yeah.
In person, right? And
yeah,
you know
I'll be
what,
there.
Me? I'm that crazy guy. Like I have enough energy for you and I both.
Let's go. We'll have some fun at the neon party. I got a romper, a neon romper.
So look, so obviously, I'm a noob. I'm a noob to the 4-letter word company. So you got to teach me the ropes.
I'll be happy to.
Seriously, Ray, you just totally freaking made my day. I'm going to freaking be meeting you in person. And that's amazing, Ray. Thank you, man. That made my day. Look, I think you can totally hear my smile right now coming through.
That's hilarious.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's going to be fun, man. I'm looking forward to meeting you. Olivier says you're pretending to work next week. Lazy bum. No, it will be work. It's a different kind of work, but it will be work next week. All right. So let me jump into these other news articles real quick before I let us go. Mortgage demand falls to the lowest level since 1995 as interest rates near 8%. So this article came out today. It's on CNBC. Mortgage rates last week rose for the 6th straight week, causing demand for home loans to drop to its lowest level since 1995. Total application volume fell 6.9% compared with the previous week. Applications to purchase a home dropped 6% week to week and was 21% lower than the same week a year ago. That 6% drop is pretty significant. Normally we see a 1 to 2% drop week to week. A 6% drop week to week that's a significant drop. Applications to refi fell 10%, but were only 12% lower than a year ago. Now, if you remember, a year ago, rates were hitting around 7%. So isn't that wild to think that we were around 7% last October, but we were. And so to see that refi applications were only down 12% compared with last week, that's, I think, to be expected. But Joel Kahn, he's the vice president and deputy chief economist at the Mortgage Bankers Association, said in a release that, quote, both purchase and refinance applications declined, driven by larger drops for conventional applications. He added that the adjustable rate mortgage, the ARM share, was 9.3%, the highest share in 11 months. So ARMs moved up again. Another news article is from Redfin. This one's interesting because it really tells you kind of the state of affordability. It says home buyers must earn $115,000 to afford the typical U.S. home. That's about $40,000 more than the typical American household earns. Now, this discussion was kind of all over Reddit as well. And the basics of the discussion was, now is the worst time for home ownership since the Great Depression. And at the time, the Great Depression was sitting about 40% home ownership. Currently, we're in the 60% home ownership. So actually, we have way more home ownership than we did in the Great Depression. However, you do see a shift in this, and you do see a shift in affordability, and that number is likely to go down if people were to sell and not rebuy somewhere else. So there's the graph that shows home buyers need to earn to afford a median priced home, $114,000. Now my question, and I didn't really find this and read to the article, but I was wondering if that's per household or if that's per buyer. If it's household, then that's, it's not as bad. But if it's per buyer, then that means a household of two has to make $228,000. That's pretty crazy. So I'm betting it's per household or per purchaser. So whether that person's buying for one person or whether that person is buying for their family. The typical American household earns $40,000 less than the income needed to buy a median priced home. So the household is $40,000 less. The median household income was roughly $75,000 in 2022, the most recent year for which the annual data is available. Hourly wages have risen in 2023, but not nearly as fast as income necessary to afford the rising cost of a home. So affordability is still a huge issue.
Hey, but Ray, conversely though, about how you talked about the 20% delta, meaning uptick in Great Depression versus now, ownership. But on the positive note, and I'm sure the data supports this, but there's never been more equity than ever in the history of real estate. There's obscene amount of equity.
There's more equity sitting in people's homes than at any other time. However, access to that equity comes in at extreme cost unless you could sell and not buy anything. And that's the problem, is that the access to the equity is now you could look at it and say, well, it's at an 8 to 9% rate or 7 to 8% rate, because whatever you take out and then rebuy, that's the rate that your new loan will be. So yes, we do have access to more equity than ever before. Cash is definitely going to be king. We're seeing a lot of people try to purchase with cash or mostly cash. And that happened last year at this time frame too, when rates hit 7%. That also happened a couple of years ago. I remember just a huge spike in cash purchases. So we'll kind of wait to see what happens. This was interesting article. Listings tick up, but buyers back off. So fewer homeowners are putting their homes on the market despite being locked in. A few more homeowners are putting their homes in the market despite being locked into relatively low mortgage rates, which we were just talking about, Eddie, you guy. New listings of U.S. homes for sale ticked up 2% since the start of September, and the listings haven't fallen much from the summer to fall as they typically do. The total number of homes for sale is only down 14% from a year earlier during the 4 weeks ending October 8th, but that's the smallest decline since July. Homebuyers are retreating as mortgage rates sit at their highest level in 2 decades. The U.S. median home mortgage payment approaches $3,000. So we're seeing buyers kind of back up a little bit. We're seeing sellers put their home on the market a little bit. I think you are going to have a percentage of the population that looks at this as maybe the ceiling of home prices. They were waiting I'm just going to wait till we're at the ceiling. I'm going to wait till we've maxed this thing out and then I'm going to put it on the market. And we may be seeing a flattening of the home price gain curve. And as we see that flattening, you'll probably see people put their home on the market that were waiting as long as possible to do so. But I don't think it's going to be a mad rush to the market with the rates currently where they are.
So Ray, why
Yep.
is it that people are not capitalizing more? And I mean real estate professionals. Why aren't real estate professionals, meaning mortgage loan originators and real estate agents or realtors, why aren't they capitalizing marketing how, I mean, and I'm not talking about marketing to others. I'm talking about, just within their teams, within their company, just stating that right now is an amazing time to be in this industry. And the reason why is because, see, one is a big the main qualifying factor in listing someone's home is their motivation, meaning how serious are they going to sell, right? If you put that home under contract. And the reality is that right now, the only people that are selling for the most part, the only people that are selling are those that have to sell.
That are actually
So
serious about it.
therefore, right? Yeah, they're serious about it. So it's like, why not just change your mindset and say, hey, wait a minute. The motivation question is really answered. So therefore, let me get my butt out there and present to more people.
The problem is it's not easy. It was easy for 2.5 years. They could stick a sign in the yard. The home would sell at multiple offers. They'd go find another home. And that was a little bit rough finding another home, but for the most part, that was not that bad. So it was so easy for 2.5, 3 years. And now it is normal. This is what real estate agents have been dealing with for years. And the ones that have been around a long time are kind of used to it. It's like, okay, we're back to a normal market. I think that's why you're going to see a sudden decrease in the number of people that are interested in real estate, becoming a real estate agent. But I think you're right. I mean, the people that have to sell, they have to sell. The people that need to sell, they're going to be selling. So, and I've already run into that in a couple of situations where they're like, well, we got to sell. So let's lower the price a little bit, get the market excited about it again. Let's go. But it is more difficult to find buyers for certain properties because the affordability, the people that could purchase it last year aren't there. So I think you have a lot of buyers that are price and condition sensitive, which it goes into this. So there's 3 more articles I want to cover real fast. Then we got to go. September's inflation report is unlikely to push mortgage rates up or down. So they're talking about the September inflation report coming. The consumer price index at its latest measure, pace of inflation came in just a touch over expectations, but the core CPI, which excludes food and energy costs, came right in line with expectations. So they are seeing the CPI hit what they expect. That means that there's a decrease in volatility, which hopefully makes what the Fed is going to do a little bit more predictable. So that article was on Redfin. And then I want to talk about homebuilder sentiment. You would think with the super low inventory that home builders would be more excited than ever to build. But that's not exactly what's happening. So home builder sentiment drops to a 10-month low as mortgage rates soar. Builder confidence in the market for single family homes dropped to its lowest level since January as builders contend with market dominated by high mortgage rates and cost for financing. The National Association of Home Builders Wells Fargo Housing Market Index dropped 4 points to 40 in October. And September's read was revised down 1 point. Anything below 50 is considered negative. So check in with your local builder. They're not feeling it. And I actually had a meeting with a big builder in the area not too long ago. And we talked a lot about the rates and what we thought was going to happen. And he said, it sounds like I kind of need to stand back and wait. And I was like, I think to the contrary, now is a great time to build, but you just have to know going in that you're not going to be able to do these increases on the price per foot for every single build. It's going to be way more cost sensitive. And if you can offer any concessions to the buyer, then you're going to really get your foot in the door with way more buyers, which should help push your price up. So then we see housing starts rebound. So this article was just posted today. Is today October? Yeah, October 18th. So we see builder sentiment down, but housing starts rebound in September, despite the spike in mortgage rates. So U.S. home construction rebounded in September after a steep drop in the previous months. Housing starts rose 7% last month to an annualized rate of 1.35 million. Whoa, these ads are jumping all over my screen. I'm going to take that off there. Woo. And now that's playing audio. I love that whenever you go to a website, it just starts playing audio like it thinks you want to hear it all. Rates on a popular...
Wait, Ray, did you just say that the housing starts increased to what?
It increased 7%
million?
to an annualized rate of 1.35 million. Yeah. So we
Wow,
still
that's a
are,
lot of new homes.
we're still like 3 million behind or something. It's something crazy like that. I can't remember what the last number Lauren Shune said, but we're still way behind what we need. And whenever you look at the map, I think last month we looked at the map and it was like 757,000 units or something like that, which was still way behind what we need. But applications to build, which measures the future construction, fell in September, sliding 4.4% over the course of the month to an annualized rate of 1.47 million. When compared with the same time last year, building permits are down about 7.2%. So here's a quote from Jeffrey Roche, chief economist at LPL Financial. Investors should know that a low supply of existing homes on the market provides a favorable backdrop for home builders, which is what we were saying. Low supply of available homes on the market will likely keep prices elevated despite the Fed's efforts to cool the economy and suppress housing inflation. And it's almost exactly what I told my builder friend that was when we were talking about the economy. So that's actually it for today. So I want to let you guys go before I hit the hour mark, because I know that's good for the YouTube. And sorry, I know I breezed through those last stories. So sorry, Olivier, you guys that were dropping comments in the YouTubes. I appreciate it. I was reading it. I just wasn't able to get to it. And this is an interesting thing about the ROAM that Bushy Top said, the assumable mortgages. We are getting way more buyer requests for assumable mortgage. So we will see if that comes to fruition. We haven't had it happen yet. Every time we've asked the buyer, it just doesn't work out. So it's
Ray, what's that acronym?
ROAM.
What does that stand for?
I'm not sure. It shows the assumable mortgages with lower rates and has a map feature similar to Zillow. They advertise that their mortgages available as low as 2%.
Are they like? Is this 4-letter company like a company that specializes in?
I
assumable
don't have a clue. I don't know if it's a
mortgages?
company. I don't know if it's an app or just a website, or if Bushy Top runs the thing and is just wanting us to go there. I don't know, but
they're a startup that just is offering guidance in helping people assume FHA, VA, and USDA loans.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So that's their specialty.
Let me know if you started the company, Bushy Top. They said I don't run it. They said I don't run it. ROAM.
ROAM. Thank you.
Yeah, Rome. Check it out. He said, or she said, I guess they make their fees off a 1% to the buyer of the home. Downside is the buyer brings as a down payment the difference between the sales price and the balance on the mortgage. Okay.
It's nothing that we couldn't do to help our clients.
Yeah.
Because FHA loans, they're all assumable. Well, I think
VA
newer than 1987 or before or after is assumable.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe, and I have to go after this, but VA loans are assumable by people that aren't even veterans. I'm almost
That's
positive.
exactly correct.
Yeah. So that's an interesting
You're
tale
absolutely
too.
right.
But hang on. If they
You do not have
the
to be a
original
veteran.
borrower, well, the original borrower might still be on the hook for that loan. If
Yeah,
they are a VA qualified borrower that assumes it, then the original borrower can get reinstated for their next loan. No
They
problem.
just can't. It takes up the portion of it takes up part of their VA loan that they could go and buy something else with. They're not on the hook for it. They just can't use it. Yeah.
Yeah, it hinders them for sure.
Cool.
I don't know the exact details.
Well, thanks everybody for joining the show. I really appreciate the back and forth and the discussion, especially on everything that was going on with the commission. So I appreciate you guys for dropping by today. If you have any questions, hit me up on, what's up, Hillary and Christina? You guys are here. What's up, y'all? Hit me up on Instagram. That's Razorback, RAYZORBACK. Connect with me there. Let me know where you guys are listening from. And I will see you not next week. It won't be live next week. So hopefully I'll have a recorded show for you there. But I will see